Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and watched Earth grow bigger on the screen. The blue planet looked beautiful as always. He had been away for 6 long months. His mission was important but difficult. He led the first group of humans to visit the big space station where many alien races met. The place was called Kepler Station, and it was very far from Earth. Jake felt tired but also worried. The things he learned during his trip would change everything for humans. The aliens at the station were strange but mostly friendly. However, they all seemed scared when Jake talked about Earth. Every time he mentioned his home planet, the aliens would get quiet and look away. Some would even leave the room quickly. "Sir, we are getting many urgent messages from Earth," said Lieutenant Amy Carter. She was sitting at her communication station and looked concerned. "Admiral Collins wants to talk to you right away." Jake nodded and felt his stomach tighten. He knew this call would bring bad news. "Put the Admiral on screen, Amy." The face of Admiral Patricia Collins appeared on the big screen. She was an older woman with gray hair and deep lines around her eyes. Jake could see she was very stressed about something. Her uniform was wrinkled like she had been working for many hours without rest. "Jake, thank God you made it back safely," the Admiral said. Her voice sounded strained. "We have a big problem here. 3 days ago, alien ships came into our solar system. They are waiting near Mars and we do not know what they want." Jake felt cold fear run through his body. During his time at the alien station, he had heard whispers about dangerous groups that attacked younger species. "What are they asking for, Admiral?" "They say they are from something called the Hegemony Enforcement Division," Collins replied. "They want us to stop all travel outside our solar system. They also want us to bow down to their authority. They gave us a time limit." Dr. Lisa Barnes stepped forward on Jake's ship. She was the chief scientist who studied alien life. Her face was pale as she spoke. "Admiral, we learned about this at the station. The older alien races have an unwritten rule about Earth," they told us. "Our planet is protected, but they would not say why. Every species we met seemed afraid when we mentioned coming from Earth." Admiral Collins frowned. "Well, someone did not get that message. The leader of the alien fleet calls himself War Leader Cax. He belongs to the Hegemony Group. He said we have 72 hours to give up, or they will show us what happens to species that do not obey." Jake remembered the scared faces of the aliens at the station when Earth was mentioned. The Hegemony was a group that believed strong species should rule over weak ones. They thought that technology and the ability to fight wars made some races better than others. Young civilizations like humans were seen as either servants or enemies. "Admiral, we need to get people away from the outer space colonies right now," Dr. Barnes said urgently. "If what we learned about the Hegemony is true, they do not like to negotiate. They prefer to attack first." "We are already moving people," Collins confirmed. "But Jake, there is something else strange happening. Before you arrived, we detected huge energy readings moving through space beyond the outer planets. These are ships, but they are not like anything in our computer files. They do not answer when we try to talk to them, and they are not Hegemony ships." Ensign Ryan Clark was working at the sensor station on Jake's ship. He suddenly called out with excitement in his voice. "Commander, I am picking up those energy readings the Admiral mentioned. These ships are massive, sir. They are much bigger than anything we have ever seen." Jake looked at the display screen that showed all the objects in space around them. He could see small dots representing the unknown ships moving toward the Hegemony fleet. The mystery ships were huge compared to both human and Hegemony vessels. Who else is out there? Jake wondered aloud. The solar system that humans called home was supposed to be empty except for their own small colonies. Now there were 2 different groups of alien ships, and Jake did not understand what was happening. Dr. Barnes was studying the readings from her portable computer. "Jake, the energy signatures from these unknown ships are very old. The technology appears to be far more advanced than anything the Hegemony has. These ships have been hiding somehow." Hiding from what?" Jake asked. "Maybe hiding from us," Amy Carter suggested. "Maybe they have been watching Earth for a long time." Admiral Collins looked worried on the screen. Jake, I need you and your team back on Earth immediately. We are calling an emergency meeting with all world leaders. The information you gathered at the alien station might help us understand what is really happening. Jake felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. His diplomatic mission was supposed to be about making friends with alien races and learning about the galaxy. Instead, he was returning home to find Earth threatened by one alien fleet and watched by another mysterious group. Admiral, what do our defense forces think about fighting the hegemony? Jake asked. Colin shook her head sadly. Our ships are fast, but not very powerful compared to theirs. We might be able to hurt them, but we cannot win a real war. Our best hope is that these mystery ships are friendly or at least not hostile to us. Set course for Earth immediately, Jake ordered his crew. Maximum speed. As the ship accelerated toward home, Jake wondered about the scared faces of the aliens at Kepler Station. Why were they so afraid of Earth being mentioned? What made his home planet so special that it needed protection? And who were the mystery ships that seemed to be moving to intercept the hegemony fleet? The next few days would bring answers that would change everything humans thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. War leader Cax stood tall in the command center of his biggest warship. The ship was called Dominator, and it was the pride of the hegemony fleet. Cax was a huge creature standing almost 8 feet tall. His skin looked like armor plates, and he had 4 powerful arms. His species had conquered many star systems, and he was proud of their strength. Cax looked at the blue planet Earth through the main viewing window. To him, this was just another weak world that needed to learn its place in the galaxy. The humans seemed like simple creatures who had barely learned how to travel between stars. He thought they should be grateful that the hegemony was offering them a chance to serve instead of destroying them completely. War leader, said Sub-Commander Vex from his station. Vex was smaller than Cax, but still much larger than any human. The human ships are moving people away from their outer settlements just as we ordered. They appear to be doing what we want. Cax made a sound like clicking that was how his species laughed. Of course they are obeying us. These mammals barely know how to use faster than light travel. They should feel lucky that we are giving them the chance to work for the hegemony instead of facing total destruction. The hegemony believe that strong species should rule over weak ones. They had built their empire by conquering worlds that could not defend themselves. Cax had personally led attacks on dozens of planets. He enjoyed the fear in the eyes of species that realized they were helpless against superior technology and firepower. Sir, there is one thing that worries me, Vex said carefully. He knew that Cax did not like to hear about problems. Our long-range sensors found several unknown ships in the outer part of this solar system. They are staying far away, but they are definitely there. Cax turned all 4 of his eyes toward his officer. When he was angry, his eyes would glow with a red light that frightened his crew. What kind of ships? Who do they belong to? We do not know, sir, Vex replied nervously. They are very large. Much larger than anything in our ship database. The energy readings suggest they use technology. That is far beyond what these humans have. But the signatures are also very old. Cax waved one of his lower arms in a dismissive gesture. Probably just some old broken ships from a dead civilization. This solar system has been avoided by most species for hundreds of years. There could be any kind of ancient junk floating around out here. What Cax did not know was that he had just made the biggest mistake of his military career. The ancient junk he was dismissing so easily were actually ships belonging to the Guardians. The Guardians were an alliance of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They had been watching Earth for thousands of years and protecting it from threats far away on the bridge of the Guardian command ship. Eternal Vigil, a human woman named Elena Martinez, was watching the hegemony fleet. Elena was special because she had left Earth many centuries ago when the Guardians first made secret contact with humans. She had been chosen to represent humanity among the ancient races. Elena had lived for hundreds of years using advanced Guardian technology. She looked like a middle-aged human woman, but her eyes held the wisdom of centuries spent among the stars. Around her stood representatives of many different ancient species. Some looked like living crystals, while others appeared to be made of pure energy. "The young war leader is very arrogant," said a being called Keeper Zeal of the Eternal Flame. This creature was made of living crystal that glowed with inner light. His species had been traveling through space when Cax's ancestors were still primitive animals on their homeworld. "Cax does not understand what Earth represents," Elena said quietly. "He has no idea why the old rules exist or what will happen if he breaks them." "Should we try to warn him?" asked another being whose name was Deep Singer Harmonious Note. This creature looked like a huge whale that could somehow live in space. His species had been protecting younger civilizations for over 1,000,000 years. Elena shook her head slowly. The rule was clear from the beginning. Do not threaten Earth. Cax is choosing to break that rule. Whatever happens next is his own fault. Back on the Dominator, Cax was already planning his attack. He wanted to show these humans what happened when primitive species tried to defy the hegemony. "Target their moon," he ordered his weapons officer. "Fire a precision shot at the dark side. Make it powerful enough to crack the surface but not destroy the whole moon. These humans need to see what the cost of disobedience looks like." The crew began preparing the main weapons of the hegemony fleet. Their energy cannons were powerful enough to destroy small moons and turn planets into dead rocks. Cax had used these weapons many times before to force other species into submission. None of the hegemony warriors noticed that the ancient guardian ships were moving closer. The alien vessels used technology so advanced that they could hide from any sensors that Cax's people possessed. The Guardian crews were preparing for what would be the last mistake that the hegemony would ever make on the Eternal Vigil. Elena was speaking with the Ancient Council through their communication system. "All Guardian vessels, this is High Admiral Martinez. War leader Cax has chosen to ignore our protection of Earth. He is preparing to attack the human homeworld. Under the ancient agreements, we are authorized to use any level of force necessary to defend Earth and its people." Throughout the solar system, weapons that had not been used for thousands of years began to charge with power. The Guardian ships carried technology that had been perfected over millions of years of development. Their weapons could manipulate time itself or rewrite the basic structure of matter. Cax stood proudly on his bridge as his weapons powered up. He had no idea that he was about to face forces that could erase his entire fleet from existence without effort. The war leader was about to learn why Earth had remained untouched for so long. "Fire when ready," Cax commanded. The ancient ships moved like ghosts through space, positioning themselves around the hegemony fleet. Soon Cax would understand the true meaning of power. On the Guardian flagship, Eternal Vigil, an emergency meeting was taking place in a huge round chamber. This room was called the Circle of Echoes, and it was where the most important decisions in the galaxy were made. Representatives from the oldest civilizations appeared as glowing images sent through space. Some looked like living crystals, while others were beings of pure energy that had no physical bodies at all. High Admiral Elena Martinez stood in the center of the circle. She was human, but had lived among the stars for hundreds of years. Elena had once been a young astronaut from Earth who was chosen by the Guardians to represent humanity in their ancient alliance. Her face showed the wisdom of someone who had seen the rise and fall of entire civilizations. "The situation is very clear," Elena announced to the assembled council. "War leader Cax of the hegemony has entered the Sol system with plans to attack. He is violating the compact of preservation that was established 4,000 years ago." A being called Ancient One Twilight of Stars spoke in sounds that were translated into words everyone could understand. This creature was made of pure energy and belonged to a race that had existed since the galaxy was young. "The humans know nothing about the compact. They believe they are alone in the universe, just as we planned." Elena nodded her head in agreement. "That was always our intention. We wanted them to grow and develop naturally without knowing they were being watched and protected. But now things have changed. Now a young and aggressive species threatens what we have guarded for thousands." of years, said another being called Wisdom Keeper Eternal Stone. This creature was made of living crystal that pulsed with ancient knowledge. The hegemony thinks that strength comes from conquest and war. They do not understand what Earth truly represents to the galaxy. Deep Singer harmonious note shifted his massive whale-like form and created vibrations that expressed deep concern. Elena, friend, what do your people call their world in their oldest languages? In many cultures they call it Mother, Elena replied. Mother Earth, Tara Mater, Prithvi, Mata, Gaia. They have always known that their planet was special, even if they did not understand why. Yes, sang Deep Singer in his whale song voice. And they do not know how right they are about that? The truth about Earth was so amazing that even Elena sometimes had trouble believing it. Earth was not just another planet where life had developed. It was the very first world in the galaxy where organic life had achieved true consciousness and self-awareness. When the first thinking creatures appeared on Earth billions of years ago, they created a special energy field that spread across space at incredible speed. This energy field had touched countless other worlds throughout the galaxy and awakened intelligence in creatures that were ready for it. Every thinking species that had ever looked up at the stars and wondered about their place in the universe owed their ability to think and dream to the original spark of consciousness that had first appeared on Earth. The hegemony in their ignorance prepares to damage the source of all galactic consciousness. Observed Ancient One Twilight of Stars. They do not realize that harming Earth would be like cutting the roots of the tree of awareness that connects every thinking being in the galaxy. Elena felt anger building inside her chest. Cax thinks he is making an example of a primitive species. He has no idea that he is about to commit the greatest crime in the history of the galaxy. Keeper Zeal of the Eternal Flame made his crystalline form glow brighter with emotion. The compact is very clear about this situation. Any species that threatens Earth with destruction must face the combined might of all guardian civilizations. There are no exceptions and no mercy for those who would harm the Mother of Minds. How many ships does Cax command? Asked Deep Singer, Elena. Check the information on her display screen. 47 vessels. This is a standard hegemony fleet designed to conquer and subjugate younger species. And how many ships answer our call for help? Elena smiled grimly as her display updated with new information about arriving vessels. Ships were appearing throughout the solar system as they dropped their invisibility shields. These were ancient vessels carrying technology that had been developed over millions of years. The crews were from species that had been protecting younger civilizations since before Cax's people had discovered fire. 312 ships representing 27 different guardian species, Elena reported, and more arriving every hour as word spreads through our network. The boy chose very poorly. Observed Ancient One Twilight of Stars. Elena activated the communication system that connected all guardian vessels. All guardian ships, this is High Admiral Martinez. War leader Cax has chosen to break the ancient rule that protects Earth. He threatens the Mother of Minds and the source of all consciousness in our galaxy. Under the Compact of Preservation, we are authorized to use any force necessary to protect Earth and defend her children. Throughout the solar system, weapons that had not been fired in anger for thousands of years began to charge with power. These were not ordinary weapons like the energy cannons used by the hegemony. Guardian technology could manipulate the basic forces of reality itself. Some weapons could age enemy ships thousands of years in seconds. Others could rewrite the atomic structure of matter or bend space and time. The guardian ships had been built by civilizations so old that they remembered when the galaxy was young and empty of intelligent life. They had watched countless species take their first steps into space and had protected the weak from the strong for millions of years. Now they prepared to defend the most sacred world in existence. Elena looked at the tactical display showing the positions of all ships in the solar system. The hegemony fleet looked very small compared to the Guardian armada that surrounded them. Cax had brought 47 ships to threaten Earth. The Guardians had responded with over 300 vessels carrying the accumulated wisdom and power of the galaxy's oldest civilizations. War Leader Cax is about to learn why Earth has remained untouched for so long, Elena said quietly. He wanted to demonstrate hegemony power. Instead, he will witness the fury of every ancient species that owes its consciousness to the world. He threatens. The battle was about to begin, and it would not be a fair fight. War Leader Cax felt the first wave of fear when his sensor officer reported what was really surrounding his fleet. The readings on his screens showed something that should have been impossible. "War Leader?" Sub-Commander Vex called out, and his voice was shaking with terror. "Those old ships we detected are not broken derelicts. Sir, we are reading massive power signatures from over 300 vessels. They have been hiding using cloaking technology that is far beyond anything we have ever seen." Cax stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Ships were appearing everywhere around his fleet. These vessels were enormous and made his largest dreadnoughts look like tiny toys. Some of the ships appeared to have been grown rather than built with organic curves that suggested living technology. Others looked like impossible geometric shapes that seemed to bend space around them. "Who are they?" Cax demanded. His arms were clenched into fists, and his red eyes glowed with anger and fear. "What do they want from us?" His question was answered when every communication device on his ship activated at the same time. The voice that spoke was human, but it carried an authority that made every warrior on the bridge freeze with instinctive terror. "War Leader Cax of the Hegemony," the voice said. "I am High Admiral Elena Martinez of the Guardian Alliance. You have entered this system with hostile intent toward a protected world. Under the Compact of Preservation, you have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and withdraw immediately from this solar system." Cax felt his mandibles click with rage. A human was giving him orders. This was impossible. These mammals had barely achieved space travel and knew nothing about galactic politics. "I do not know what trick this is, but the hegemony does not negotiate with primitive species. We are here to claim this system for the greater good of galactic order." "The greater good," Elena's voice carried centuries of controlled anger. "You know nothing about the greater good, War Leader. You are about to attack the most sacred world in the galaxy, and you call it order. Sacred to whom?" Cax sneered. "These humans are barely evolved animals. They have no significance in galactic affairs." There was a long pause before Elena spoke again. When her voice returned, it had gone cold as space itself. "You were warned, War Leader. The rule was clear. Do not mess with Earth. You broke it anyway. And now you will face the consequences." Elena's voice rang across the ancient fleet. "All Guardian vessels, this is High Admiral Martinez. The hegemony has refused to withdraw their threat against Earth. Under compact authority, you are cleared to engage. Protect the Mother of Minds, protect her children." What happened next would be remembered as the Battle of Seoul, though calling it a battle was not really accurate. What occurred was more like divine judgment being passed on those who had committed an unforgivable crime. The ancient Guardian ships moved with grace that seemed impossible for objects so large. Their technology was so advanced that it appeared to be magic rather than science. Keeper Zila, the Eternal Flame, commanded a vessel called Crystal Harmony that fired beams of pure crystallized time. These weapons aged hegemony ships hundreds of years in seconds, turning their metal hulls into dust that scattered into space. Deep Singer, Harmonious Note, controlled a bioship that released clouds of microscopic organisms. These tiny creatures rewrote the molecular structure of enemy vessels, converting warships into blooming gardens of alien flowers and plants. Weapons became vines and armor plating transformed into tree bark and leaves. Ancient One, Twilight of Stars, did not use weapons at all. Their energy form simply passed through hegemony ships like a ghost. Every electronic system touched by their essence evolved beyond its original programming. Computer systems became self-aware and turned against their creators. Weapons refused to fire, and engines shut down as the ships themselves rebelled against their crews. The hegemony fleet had conquered dozens of star systems. using their superior technology and firepower. Now they found their weapons completely useless against shields that had been perfected over millions of years of development. Their fastest ships could not escape vessels that had mastered the manipulation of space and time when Cax's species was still learning to use tools. Within minutes, the mighty armada that had terrorized younger civilizations across the galaxy was reduced to floating debris and emergency escape pods. The few hegemony ships that survived intact had their weapons destroyed and their engines disabled. They drifted helplessly in space, waiting for whatever judgment the ancient guardians would pass upon them. Commander Jake Morrison watched the battle from his ship, New Horizon, as it approached Earth. His crew stared in amazement at displays showing weapons and technology that defied every law of physics they thought they understood. "Amy, are you recording all of this?" Jake asked his communications officer. "Yes, sir," Lieutenant Amy Carter replied. Her voice was filled with awe and wonder. "Though I am not sure anyone will believe what we are seeing even with video evidence. The battle, if it could be called that, was over almost before it began. The Guardian ships had not even used their most powerful weapons. They had simply demonstrated that the hegemony was completely outmatched in every possible way." War leader Cax found himself transported from his command bridge to the interior of the Guardian flagship. Eternal vigil, he stood in a vast chamber, surrounded by beings so ancient and powerful that his lifetime of military training felt like a child's game. The technology that had moved him from his ship to theirs was beyond his understanding. High Admiral Elena Martinez stood before him. She was human, but her eyes held the wisdom of centuries spent among the stars. Around her were representatives of civilizations that had existed since the galaxy was young. "You wanted to make an example, war leader," Elena said quietly. "Consider this your lesson. Earth is not undefended. It is not primitive. It is protected by every civilization that owes its consciousness to the gift she gave to the galaxy." Cax stared at the human woman, finally beginning to understand the magnitude of his error. "What are you?" he whispered. "I am what happens when humanity reaches the stars and learns the truth about their world," Elena replied. "I am what your people could have become if you had chosen wisdom over conquest." Ancient One, Twilight of Stars, spoke, and their energy form pulsed with ancient sadness. "The hegemony empire will be disbanded. Your fleets will be recalled to your homeworlds. Your species will be given a choice. Learn peace and cooperation, or face the judgment of every guardian species in the galaxy." "And what happens to me?" Cax asked. Elena smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You get to live with the knowledge that you almost committed the greatest crime in galactic history. And you get to explain to your people why their empire just ended forever." 3 months after the Battle of Seoul, Commander Jake Morrison stood in the United Nations Assembly Hall in New York. Every world leader and head of major space agencies had gathered for this historic meeting. The truth about Earth could no longer be kept secret from humanity. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jake began as his voice carried across the silent chamber, "what I'm about to tell you will change humanity's understanding of our place in the universe forever." He activated the holographic display system, showing images captured during the battle. The pictures showed ancient ships of impossible design, beings of pure energy and technology that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "Earth is not alone in the galaxy," Jake continued. "We never have been alone. For thousands of years we have been watched, protected, and guided by an alliance of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They call themselves the Guardians, and they exist for one primary purpose, which is to protect us." President Linda Walsh leaned forward in her seat. She was a woman in her 50s who had led the United States through many crises, but nothing had prepared her for this revelation. "Protect us from what, Commander Morrison?" "From the truth of what we really are," Jake replied. 3 days ago, I received a classified briefing from High Admiral Elena Martinez. She is a human who left Earth centuries ago as part of a secret first contact program. What she told me will shock everyone in this room. Jake activated another display showing a complex map of energy patterns spreading across the galaxy. The image looked like a vast web of light connecting thousands of star systems. Earth is not just another planet where life evolved, Jake explained. According to the Guardians, our world is the origin point of consciousness itself in this galaxy. Billions of years ago, the first spark of true self-awareness emerged here on Earth. This created a quantum energy field that spread across space at incredible speed. Every thinking species that has ever achieved consciousness owes their ability to think and dream to that first spark that appeared on our world. The assembly erupted in whispers and gasps of amazement. Dr. Lisa Barnes, who had accompanied Jake to the podium, stepped forward to explain the scientific implications. "The discovery is staggering in its implications," she said. "In essence, every intelligent species in the galaxy shares a common origin of consciousness with humanity. We are literally the parent mind that gave birth to galactic civilization." Secretary General Antonio Vasquez raised his hand to ask a question. "Dr. Barnes, are you saying that every alien species somehow descended from human thought processes?" "Not descended exactly," Barnes corrected. "Awakened would be a better word. The quantum field of consciousness that first emerged on Earth spread outward faster than light itself. It touched worlds across the galaxy and sparked awareness in species that were ready to make that evolutionary leap. We are the mother of minds for every thinking being in the galaxy." Jake activated a final display showing the current political situation among the stars. The Guardians have maintained a careful balance of power for thousands of years. Some species like the hegemony believe in conquest and domination of weaker races. Others like the Guardian Alliance believe in protection and guidance of younger civilizations. Earth sits at the center of it all as the one world that cannot be allowed to fall or be destroyed. "What happens to humanity now?" asked President Walsh. "Now we have a choice to make," Jake replied. "The Guardians have offered us full membership in their alliance. We can learn from civilizations that are millions of years older than us. We can help protect other young species just as we were protected during our development. Or we can continue to develop independently with their continued protection and guidance." The air in the chamber shimmered and High Admiral Elena Martinez appeared as a hologram. Her image was being transmitted from the Guardian flagship that still orbited Earth. Gasps echoed through the assembly as they saw the first human who had left Earth to join the stars. "My fellow humans," Elena said, and her voice carried the weight of centuries of experience. "I left Earth as Lieutenant Elena Martinez of the United States Space Force in the year 2157. I was chosen to be humanity's hidden ambassador among the stars. My mission was to learn from our protectors and help them understand our species." "What do you recommend we do?" asked Secretary General Vasquez. Elena smiled with warmth and pride. "I recommend you remember what you have always been at your core. You are explorers, dreamers, and protectors of the innocent. The galaxy needs that human spirit now more than ever before. There are young species out there taking their first steps into space who need the same protection we received. And if we refuse this offer," asked President Walsh. "Then you continue as you always have," Elena replied. "Protected, watched over, and free to grow at your own pace without interference. But know this truth. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders beyond your wildest imagination. And it is waiting for you to join the community of civilizations that call it home." Jake stepped forward one final time to address the assembly. War leader Cax learned a hard lesson about threatening Earth. The rule was clear from the beginning. Do not mess with Earth. He broke that rule anyway and faced the consequences. Now we know why that rule exists and why it is enforced so strongly. Earth is not just our homeworld. It is the birthplace of consciousness itself. He looked out over the assembly, seeing the wonder, determination, and excitement in the faces of world leaders. These were the same expressions that had driven humanity to reach for the stars since the beginning of their history. "The question we must answer together is simple," Jake concluded. "What do we do with this knowledge?" As the assembly began to debate humanity's future among the stars, the Guardian fleet maintained its protective watch around Earth. Ancient ships continued their eternal vigil over the children of consciousness, as they prepared to take their rightful place among the galaxy's greatest civilizations. The rule would remain in effect forever. Do not mess with Earth, but now humanity would help enforce that rule and protect other young species. 1 year later, the first human guardian vessel called the Defender of Origins took its place alongside the ancient fleet. The ship was crewed by volunteers from every nation on Earth and commanded by Captain Ryan Clark, who had been the young ensign that first detected the Guardian ships. Former war leader Cax, now known as Cax the Enlightened, worked as an ambassador, teaching other militant species about the true nature of consciousness and the connections between all thinking beings on Earth. Children looked up at the stars with new wonder, knowing that ancient guardians watched over them and that someday they too might join the eternal mission of protecting the spark of consciousness that made all intelligent life in the galaxy possible. The rule remained clear and unchanging. Do not mess with Earth. Now everyone in the galaxy knew exactly why.